are you or have you ever used your timing gates that you're using for the flies? Have you ever used those for the curves as well, just to see what they're putting out on those?
You were cutting out. Did you ask about timing those?
Yeah, he was asking, do you set up timing gates? And I think that's where you definitely you do want to have a set circle, like a soccer circle, because then at that point you want the distance to be the exact same. But are you timing those ever?
So I'm not, because I'm not going to call out the company, but I use a system that is not 100% reliable. Now, I know it can increase output, so I'm still going to use them on our Fly 10s. It's harder for me to use the system that we currently use on anything that is a short sprint, because it is so easily triggered wrong. But as you say that, and I'm sitting there telling myself, well, you're just trying to drive, intent anyways, it wouldn't be a bad idea to put them out there and have them run them. I wouldn't record them probably, because I got away from like over analyzing like too much data. I kind of, like about 4 years ago, I measured so much stuff that I would go home and plug numbers all night. And then when I had my son, I wasn't going home and averaging, doing all these number crunching and crap. I kind of was just like, all right, I ain't tracking that no more. But that's a good idea. I should honestly, I should look at doing that.
What about your snake stuff? What I call snake, so you're weaving and those kind of things. Where are you fitting that in?
We would do that on a Thursday. So with our, sorry. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got like our summer program pulled up. So on, so Thursday, we ran the mini curves. We ran snake run 30s. And I really liked what you did this summer with like changing that curve, making it tighter.
Yeah.
We've always gone bottom of the numbers, top of the numbers, because it's so easy to set up. But with those mini curves, like I said, I start on the hash and I walk that little curve that you call it the half moon. And it ends up being roughly like 6 yards off the hash, roughly, but it's not exact. And the first 3/4 of the summer, we spent accumulating volume on those, but giving them max recovery. So like you would run one, and I had like 5 of them set up, and then you walked back to your line. Same deal. They would get about a minute and a half. We started with a 2 and a 2. Then we went to a 3 one way, 2 the other way. Then the next week we went 3 and 3, and we built it up to where I think we ended up going 5 each way on those. I didn't want to run any more volume on those because we condition on Fridays, and Brandon knows this. Like we run our kids pretty hard in our conditioning, and so I didn't want to turn it into that. And we started adding a decel to that the last 2 weeks, so they would get through the end, and they had a 3 colored cone section to finish through. The good thing with those mini curves like that is that if you have the right turf, I think you can run those. You know what I'm saying? Our kids can't run them on our turf in anything but cleats because they'll fall. But so that's kind of like the extent of the curve stuff. We've done things like with baseball guys, I've done some question mark curves. And I made sure to do them both ways because they turned it into just rounding first base, which is beneficial. But
you're really, really good at it. My softball girls can run question mark to the left like nobody's business. Those girls can lean to where it looks like they're snow skiing or something. They're leaning so hard. It's amazing. Then all of a sudden, if you turn them around to the right, they look like a baby giraffe trying to go through it. They can't figure out how to sequence that thing and get the Man, you know what Price was talking about earlier about how I was progressing the snake sprints. Basically, I just went on a 7-week progression, and I literally turned on the football field sideways, and so I'd have a group on the 20-yard line, and there were cones every 5 yards straight up to 20, and so they were going through that, and it was really a tight weave. So that was week 1. Week 2, all I did was every other cone, I moved it off 1 yard. So they just went off 1 yard. So now there was a 1 yard separation. Then I went and moved the other cone off of the 20. So now it was on the 19 and the 21. So there's a 2 yard separation. Then I deepened that. When we went to that, I deepened it to 7 yards. And then I went to 3 on one side, 2 on the other. And so I just start stretching them as I widen it. I just stretched it. So we've had a 7-week progression, and we're getting close to, we're getting where we're pretty deep in some of those curves as they're going around.